Easter Sunday, March 31st, 2024. The city of Los Angeles woke to soft skies and an air of calm. The streets of Sylmar, a quiet industrial community in the northern part of the San Fernando Valley, carried the hum of families on their way to church, children in pastel clothes clutching baskets, and the low murmur of traffic fading under the weight of the holiday. It was a day for rest and reflection. Nobody expected that, within the walls of an anonymous building on Roxford Street, the largest cash burglary in the city's history was silently unfolding. The building in question belonged to GuardaWorld, a multinational security company known for handling vast sums of cash on behalf of banks, retail chains, and casinos. The facility served as a cash storage depot, where armored trucks delivered millions of dollars every day for counting, sorting, and redistribution. Its reputation for security was impeccable. Vault doors reinforced with tons of steel, motion detectors, cameras, and alarm systems designed to repel even the most ambitious thief. But on that particular Sunday, the building was nearly empty. It was a holiday, and only a skeleton crew had passed through earlier in the day. By evening, the depot rested under silence, sealed and still. Somewhere above, in the darkened air, a small team of criminals prepared to exploit that silence. No one knows exactly when they began. Investigators later estimated that the break-in occurred between Saturday night and early Monday morning, but the precision suggested careful premeditation. Using tools that left minimal evidence, possibly power saws or thermal cutters, the intruders breached the roof of the building, directly above the section that housed the main cash vault. The hole they created was measured later. Clean, circular, and deliberate, large enough for a person to fit through. It was not the crude work of opportunists but the precise entry of professionals who knew what they were doing. From the inside, the vault appeared untouched. There were no signs of forced entry on the doors or locks, and none of the alarms had triggered. Whatever method they used to access the interior, it avoided every conventional detection system. Police would later confirm that the alarm system had been functional, meaning the thieves had found a way to bypass it altogether. By the time they finished, the group had extracted an estimated $30 million in cash. The bills were stored in sealed containers and bundles, representing deposits from various businesses awaiting transport to banks. Surveillance footage from nearby buildings captured nothing useful, no suspicious vehicles, no unusual activity. Even the sound of cutting metal or movement inside went unnoticed. The surrounding warehouses were closed, and the noise from nearby highways masked any faint sound that might have escaped through the roof. When employees returned on Monday morning, April 1st, the discovery was both shocking and surreal. At first, nothing appeared out of place. The external locks were intact. The doors were sealed. But inside the vault room, one worker noticed something odd: piles of empty cash trays stacked beside a gaping hole in the ceiling. Dust and insulation covered the floor. It took several seconds for the realization to sink in. Millions were gone. By mid-morning, the Los Angeles Police Department had cordoned off the area. Detectives from the Major Crimes Division joined agents from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, who specialize in high-value thefts. The facility became a crime scene, and investigators began the slow process of reconstructing what had happened. They photographed the cut in the roof, collected samples of metal fragments, and reviewed digital logs. The first press briefing confirmed the scale of the theft, but withheld key details. Reporters were told only that a large amount of cash had been stolen. Within 24 hours, the amount leaked to the media, $30 million, making it one of the biggest cash burglaries in American history. The figure stunned both law enforcement and the public. For comparison, the infamous Dunbar armored robbery of 1997, until then the largest in California, had netted $18 million. This Easter job surpassed it by a wide margin. Speculation began immediately. Was it an inside job? The vault's location, the exact point of entry, the timing, all pointed toward knowledge only someone with experience or access could possess. GuardaWorld issued a brief statement acknowledging the incident and pledging full cooperation with authorities. The company offered no details about internal security or the clients whose cash had vanished, citing confidentiality. The neighborhood surrounding the depot became the focus of media attention. Residents told reporters they had seen nothing unusual that weekend. No unfamiliar trucks, no sounds of drilling, no alarms. One man, who lived 2 blocks away, told the Los Angeles Times that the area was dead quiet all Easter Sunday. To many, that was what made the heist so unnerving. It wasn't just the size of the theft, it was the silence of it. By Tuesday, crime scene analysts concluded that the thieves had entered through the roof sometime late Sunday and exited the same way before dawn Monday. No fingerprints were recovered. The cut edges of the roof showed evidence of power tool use, but investigators could not determine the exact equipment used. Detectives canvassed hardware stores across Los Angeles County looking for recent purchases of specialized saw blades or cutting torches, but the search produced no immediate leads. What baffled everyone most was how the crew had located the vault so precisely from above. The roof covered tens of thousands of square feet, yet the entry hole was directly above the area containing the cache. That accuracy suggested either detailed blueprints or first-hand familiarity with the building's interior. Investigators began quietly reviewing the employment history of every GardaWorld staff member and contractor who had worked at the facility in the past 2 years. As Easter week unfolded, the story dominated headlines. News anchors described it as a Hollywood-style heist without a trace. Commentators drew comparisons to the Lufthansa robbery of 1978, but experts pointed out key differences. The Los Angeles job involved no violence, no hostages, and no firearms. It was pure stealth, a burglary executed with surgical efficiency. Behind the scenes, detectives built a timeline. The last known movement inside the building had occurred Saturday evening, when an employee finished a delivery log at around 7 p.m. Security cameras recorded nothing after that. The system reset automatically at midnight, as scheduled, and recorded nothing unusual until employees arrived Monday morning. That meant the break-in occurred sometime within that 36-hour window, plenty of time for a small team working in darkness to complete their mission. The public was fascinated, but for investigators, fascination turned quickly to frustration. There were no witnesses, no alarms, and no mistakes, at least none they could find. Whoever had done it knew not only how to get in, but also how to leave without leaving a trace. The Easter heist of 2024 would soon be recognized as one of the most sophisticated crimes in Los Angeles history. But at this early stage, it was still just a mystery. $30 million gone, a roof torn open, and a trail that ended in silence. As the days turned into weeks, detectives were left staring at the same question that would haunt them for months. Who knew enough and dared enough to pull this off? Easter Sunday, March 31st, 2024, was supposed to be a quiet holiday in Los Angeles. The streets of Sylmar, a largely industrial district in the San Fernando Valley, were still. The warehouses stood silent beneath the hazy morning sun, their metal doors locked and unremarkable. Inside one of them, however, lay the aftermath of what would soon be called the largest cash heist in Los Angeles history. It wasn't until Monday morning, April 1st, 2024, that the silence broke. Employees of Guardsman Armored, a private cash handling company, arrived for work after the Easter weekend. They entered the high-security vault building on Roxford Street, a facility that stored millions in cash collected from banks, retailers, and casinos. At first, nothing seemed out of place. The exterior locks were intact, and there were no signs of forced entry. But when a supervisor opened the vault door around 8:30 a.m., confusion quickly turned into horror. Stacks of money, neatly wrapped in bundles, were missing. The rows of pallets that normally held sealed bags of cash were partially empty. For a moment, the staff thought it might have been a record-keeping error, a miscount, or a weekend transfer that wasn't logged. But as they went through the CCTV footage, the shock deepened. The security cameras inside the vault had gone dark sometime Saturday night. The external footage, though still operational, revealed nothing. Whoever had done this had moved with precision and planning. By mid-morning, the Los Angeles Police Department's Major Crimes Division and the FBI had been called in. It didn't take long to confirm the staggering figure. $30 million in cash had vanished, making it one of the largest heists in California's history and one of the biggest in the United States over the past decade. At the scene, investigators found a small, almost invisible hole cut into the side of the concrete vault wall, about 2 feet wide, behind some stacked pallets and hidden from casual view. It was surgical in precision. The burglars had somehow bypassed alarms, cut through reinforced concrete, and entered without triggering the building's security systems. There were no signs of violence, no alarms raised, and no witnesses. It was, in every sense, a ghost operation. As news broke that afternoon, reporters gathered outside the warehouse, broadcasting live updates as detectives and forensic teams swarmed the scene. Locals were stunned. Some compared it to the Dunbar armored robbery of 1997, where $18.9 million was stolen, until this Easter job eclipsed it. Detectives began piecing together the timeline. Sometime between Saturday night, March 30th, and early Sunday morning, the thieves had entered. They seemed to have inside knowledge, not just of where the vault was, but how to avoid detection. The vault itself was built with several layers of concrete and steel, and breaking into it would require industrial-grade tools, cutting torches, or drilling machines, none of which would go unnoticed unless carefully muffled or timed. The first major clue came from surveillance footage from nearby buildings. Around midnight on Saturday, a white cargo van was seen idling near the facility. It had no license plates visible on the rear camera, but investigators noted the timing. Another clip, from a neighboring warehouse, captured faint flashes of light, possibly from cutting tools, around 1:45 a.m. Yet, no alarms were triggered. This suggested the thieves either disabled the alarm system remotely or had access to its controls. By Wednesday, April 3rd, the FBI's art crime and financial crimes units had joined forces with LAPD's robbery homicide division. Though no suspects had been named publicly, sources close to the investigation told major outlets like Los Angeles Times and ABC7 that the job bore the hallmarks of an inside-informed operation. Someone, they believed, knew the exact layout, shift schedules, and alarm vulnerabilities. In the following days, federal investigators traced communications and transactions linked to Guardsman armored employees and contractors. Polygraph tests were conducted. Background checks were reopened. No one was directly implicated, but there were whispers, rumors of a former employee fired months earlier after a dispute, and another who had access to building blueprints. Meanwhile, the public fascination exploded. On social media, amateur sleuths shared satellite images of the warehouse. True crime podcasts launched emergency episodes. Memes calling it the Great Easter Heist went viral. But behind the humor and curiosity lay a growing sense of awe. How could a group of burglars outsmart modern security and vanish with $30 million in cash in 2024? Investigators considered multiple theories. One suggested that the thieves may have tunneled from an adjacent property, similar to methods used in previous international heists. Another speculated they had entered during working hours earlier in the week, staged equipment inside, and returned covertly. The clean execution pointed to military-level planning, but unlike cinematic robberies, this one had no explosions, no chases, and no visible chaos. It was quiet, careful, and chillingly efficient. As the manhunt continued, cash movement patterns across Southern California banks and casinos were quietly monitored. Federal agents scanned for unusual deposits or large cash exchanges. They even checked for newly circulated serial numbers from the stolen cash lots. Yet, weeks passed without a trace. The thieves hadn't spent or moved any detectable portion of the money, a sign that they either hid it well or planned to launder it slowly over time. In April's final press briefing, LAPD Captain Kelly Muniz described the heist as one of the most methodical and clean burglaries we've ever seen. She confirmed that the burglars had disabled the alarm system from inside the facility, not externally, meaning they either had legitimate access at some point or had meticulously replicated the system's signals to fool it. Still, no arrests, no recovered cash, no known suspects. By May 2024, the case had gone cold, at least publicly. Behind the scenes, investigators pursued new leads involving construction permits and tool purchases that might match the vault breach. Interpol was even notified, just in case the money or perpetrators crossed borders. But in Sylmar, the hole in the wall remained a haunting symbol of human precision and audacity, a perfect crime that defied logic. Locals began calling the warehouse the Easter Vault, a grim reminder that even in an age of surveillance and digital tracking, someone had managed to walk away with $30 million in cold, untraceable cash and vanish like smoke. By the summer of 2024, the Los Angeles $30 million Easter heist had evolved from a local crime story into an international mystery. Weeks had turned into months, and still, no one had been arrested, no suspects named, and not a single dollar of the stolen cash recovered. For a city used to cinematic crime sagas, this one seemed ripped straight from Hollywood. Except it was real, and it had happened in the heart of Sylmar. The FBI and the Los Angeles Police Department continued to operate quietly, refusing to share operational details with the public. Officially, the case remained open and active. Unofficially, frustration was mounting. Despite dozens of interviews, surveillance footage reviews, and data tracing, investigators were left with a puzzle that had more precision than clues. The sheer professionalism of the break-in continued to baffle law enforcement. The burglars had bypassed multiple layers of electronic security without triggering any alerts, penetrated a reinforced concrete vault, and escaped without leaving usable forensic evidence. No fingerprints, no DNA, no tool markings that led anywhere. Even the hole they cut through the wall had been executed with near-engineering perfection. By July, agents began working backward, re-examining the people connected to Guardsman Armored, the company that managed the vault. Their roster included former military personnel, security specialists, and logistics contractors, any of whom could have had the expertise to plan such a job. But background checks turned up little more than routine employment histories. Meanwhile, whispers began circulating in security and law enforcement circles that the Easter heist might have been the work of a small, highly skilled team of professionals, possibly with ties to international theft rings. Some analysts compared it to the Banco Central burglary in Brazil, 2005, and the Hatton Garden heist in London, 2015, both crimes marked by similar patience, timing, and surgical execution. Yet there was a defining difference. In this case, the money itself was the weak link. Cash, unlike gold or art, is harder to move in bulk. Large sums draw attention. The FBI's Financial Crimes Task Force quietly began scanning casino transactions, bulk cash purchases, and money laundering networks along the U.S.-Mexico border. Special agents even collaborated with FinCEN, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, to track suspicious patterns of deposits under $10,000, a common laundering tactic. Still, no pattern matched. By September 2024, several local and national news outlets, Los Angeles Times, ABC7, and CNN, ran deep dive reports reconstructing the event. They emphasized one chilling fact: the burglars may have been inside the facility for hours, possibly even returning over multiple nights. One investigative journalist, referencing leaked internal reports, claimed that cutting through the vault wall would have taken at least 8 hours of continuous work, suggesting the thieves somehow muffled the sound or used specialized, low-noise drilling tools. Some theories grew wild. Social media sleuths speculated that an employee from a neighboring warehouse might have unknowingly assisted. Others claimed the robbers had rented or bought the adjacent property, tunneling in under the guise of renovation. None of it was confirmed, but the speculation kept the story alive, fueling documentaries and YouTube breakdowns with millions of views. As fall turned into winter, the investigation's trail cooled further. By December 2024, the LAPD officially classified it as an ongoing but low-activity case, shifting the bulk of responsibility to the FBI. Internal sources hinted that the Bureau had developed persons of interest, though none were publicly identified. In early 2025, a faint spark reignited interest. Federal investigators in Nevada reportedly discovered a stash of sealed cash packages during a routine raid on a money laundering front in Las Vegas. For a few days, rumors flew that the money had come from the Easter heist. But lab tests and serial number checks proved otherwise. It was unrelated drug money. The public's hopes for a resolution faded again. Despite the lack of arrests, the case had profound effects on the security industry. Armored car and vault companies across the U.S. reviewed their alarm systems, access logs, and camera redundancies. Insurance premiums skyrocketed. The Guardsman facility itself underwent major renovations, adding new concrete reinforcements and multiple fail-safe systems to prevent another breach. Behind the scenes, however, investigators still refused to give up. In confidential briefings, they shared the belief that the heist was not random. It had been in the making for months, possibly even years. The burglars knew every inch of the building, every camera blind spot, every shift pattern. And the decision to strike over Easter, a period when the vault was closed for more than 48 hours, showed advanced planning and timing. There was also the psychological element. To pull off a crime of this scale without violence or detection, and to remain silent afterward, required extreme discipline. No leaks, no boasting, no spending sprees. Whoever they were, they understood that the real test of a perfect heist wasn't breaking in. It was staying invisible afterward. As of late 2025, the $30 million Easter heist remains unsolved. The FBI continues to keep certain evidence sealed, including the internal alarm logs and detailed footage from outside cameras. A few leads are said to persist, particularly related to heavy equipment rentals and a series of false work orders filed in the area days before the robbery. True crime journalists and analysts continue to revisit the case, often calling it America's quietest masterpiece of crime. It stands as a strange anomaly, a crime with no violence, no digital trace, and no visible aftermath. For residents of Sylmar, the story still lingers. The warehouse itself has become a local landmark of sorts. Drivers pass by and point out where the thieves supposedly entered, while security guards now patrol in pairs, the weight of history hanging over every night shift. Some believe the culprits have long fled the country. Others think the money is hidden somewhere nearby, buried or sealed away until the heat dies down. Theories abound, but facts remain scarce. In a world saturated with cameras, sensors, and data trails, the Los Angeles $30 million Easter heist stands as a reminder that perfect crimes can still exist. Not because the thieves were superhuman, but because they understood systems, how to exploit silence, timing, and complacency. To this day, the hole in the vault wall has been repaired, but investigators say that every time they walk into that facility, they still see it. It's more than a scar. It's a symbol of the unanswered question that keeps them awake. How did they do it? And where did they go? And as the FBI quietly keeps the case open, under the name Operation Easter Vault, one fact remains unchanged. $30 million in cash is still out there somewhere, untouched, unspent, and unclaimed. The ghost of America's most flawless modern heist.